recording today's session again, as I mentioned, so that you can refer back to it if you would like. Can we go to the next slide?
Yes.
Agenda today, we're going to go over the agenda. We're going to have a little bit of an icebreaker, and I have a swag link that we're going to be putting in chat. Please make sure to only do one submission for the swag. There is limited items, and we want to make sure that everybody gets a chance to get one because it's cool HubSpot swag. Then we're going to move on to our presentation with Mr. Chad Muntz. We've got Q&A, and then we're going to conclude talking about plans for our next hug. If you got any questions as we go, please feel free to put questions in the chat. We are going to wait until the end to answer questions, though. All right, next slide. Putting the swag link in the chat. So go ahead and grab yourself some swag while we're getting started. And if you could put in chat, what's the number one thing you want to learn today? We want to make sure that you're getting what you want out of this presentation. Put that in chat and we'll take a look at them as we're going through the presentation. And without further ado, let me introduce our speaker, Chad Muntz.
Thank you, Angelique. Well, welcome everybody. I appreciate being invited to speak to you today. A little bit of background on who I am. I am with WLNS, Channel 6 here in Lansing, part of Nexstar Media Group. It's the largest broadcast company in the country. And we have a couple hundred stations around the country and even more websites and mobile apps. So we collect a lot of data as we go. I've been doing this since 2013 officially. And I'm married with 2 children and 2 fur babies down there, my Bernese Mountain Dogs. I'm also in a band called the Black Barn Band that plays around Lansing on occasion. So look for us at Zuby's or other places that you frequent that have live music. Anyway, that's a little bit about me. I have my contact information on this slide. And feel free to reach out to me anytime. Also, the good folks at Inverve Marketing work very closely with me on lots of projects. So if you want to reach out to them, that'd be great too. So we will just get into this. And, we're talking about advertising. We're talking about sort of outbound advertising and how that's different from the inbound strategies that HubSpot is so good at. And, this is just kind of a slide to demonstrate how many advertising messages we're hit with in a day. I mean, it's estimated between 6,000 and 10,000 advertising impressions land on our eyeballs every day. So it can be really crazy. But what I'm here to tell you is that I think that people understand that when they're consuming content, especially free, they understand that advertising is going to be part of that situation. And secondly, I think people are more open to advertising when it is relevant or to help them connect with content or information that aligns with their interests. And so that's what we're going to talk about today is how do you take an outbound strategy and sort of use some advanced targeting techniques, which we'll get into pretty deeply, and make them complement your inbound, make them more relevant to your users, associate your content, white papers, whatever, utilizing display and video and email and things like that, that will help you move the needle. So kind of moving on, talking about inbound, obviously inbound focuses on attracting customers through content that's useful and relevant. And I think that with digital ads, if you do it the right way, we can do that too. Your ad strategy can complement inbound by focusing on the user experience and putting content in front of them that seems useful. So take a look at this group on our screen here. By associating relevant content with people who are in that market for what it is you do, it's going to seem like useful information, and people are more apt to interact with your brand if it's in the right space at the right time. So how we can make your advertising better than the rest, what's interesting, and it still boggles my mind, fully 3/4 of advertising that you see online is not really even utilizing basic audience targeting techniques, demographic profiling. It's cheap when you buy tonnage, and the national brands are doing that. I mean, I can't go to a website without seeing a Progressive ad pop up, but that's why people find these ads annoying at times. And but with smart technology and marketing tactics, we can reach the right people, the right audience, and engage more people in your inbound flywheel. And that's what we want to kind of show you here today, a few ways to make that happen. What I think is digital ads can really be the perfect bridge from inbound to outbound, because by definition, advertising is an outbound strategy. But when people are connecting with your brand and your content via inbound, especially if they're enjoying your content, coming back frequently, and interacting with your brand, your content, then when you implement some of these targeting techniques to show them other things that you might do, well, now that seems like you're offering a service, because they're already familiar with your brand. They know what they like to get from you, and now you're utilizing a different technique to put other things in front of them. So, think about digital ads as your bridge here. So yeah, let's get into the different types of targeting to consider and how it all works together. So, all kind of starts with data. What we do, and what most digital marketing firms specialize in, is combining first party data that is collected from websites and that people are visiting. We can collect lots of data. We can read cookies from their computers, and then we combine that and with third party data that's purchased from other companies. I have a couple logos on this page. You can kind of see, that there's lots of data companies that data can be purchased from. So when you're talking with a partner who is able to access this type of targeting, just kind of be sure that you're accessing a company that is able to combine first and third party data to really reach the right person, the right device, the right time, basically be everywhere that they are. Some capabilities, demographic, so age, gender, race, household income, those kind of things. Behavioral data that's collected from your online behavior, what you're looking at, what you're buying online, etc. Contextual targeting is another way to reach the right people, and that's essentially taking the type of person you're looking to reach and putting them on content sites that make sense. But there's a lot of these. This is just kind of a list, and we're going to get into these kind of one by one here. So audience targeting. This is just kind of the basic targeting techniques that I call it basic because this has been used for a lot of years. And this is one of those things. This is using cookie technology to understand what your online behaviors are, and then make some assumptions about that device and putting the right message that aligns with those behaviors. And so we know demographics. That's a pretty easy one. With gender, age, income, education, etc. And then the behavioral stuff like browsing history, search history, past purchase history, online and offline, because we can combine, MasterCard data with our first party data. So these are becoming less available, and you probably heard with Facebook and Google in the recent year or two, they're kind of locking things down a little bit. Apple is another one that's just kind of trying to eliminate some of these things by privacy. And while this is still an important and an effective way to reach your audience, some devices, some companies, some websites are getting away from this. Not to say that we can't use other techniques, but it's just a note to consider. Contextual targeting is a good way to reach a group of people that is in a specific, if it's new parents, for instance. If you're a company that sells baby items, this is a really good way to reach people who are consuming that kind of content. So it's really a content first strategy of this is the type of content that the person is most likely to consume. And this is a good way to reach that person and get in front of them. So contextual targeting is a really good way to do that for specific types of businesses. Website retargeting is, I almost think of this as an inbound strategy, even though it's utilizing display ad technology. Essentially, this should be a best practice for marketers, and it can be set up a couple different ways. But when a user comes to your website, it's implied that they're interested in what you do. And a lot of times they're not going to do the action you want them to do, make a purchase, download a file, enter a form. The very first time they visit you, they might need coaxing, and that's where site retargeting is ideal. So if they're on a specific page of your website, we can retarget them with a message that resonates for that thing. And I'll give you an example of what that might look like. Well, with e-commerce, for example, it's estimated about 70% of online shopping carts are abandoned. And if we could, and you've seen this from sophisticated retailers, if you're leaving your shopping cart abandoned, you're going to get an email or you're going to get some advertising that comes back and says, hey, I think you forgot to check out. Come back and let's take care of this. A good example is, say, an attorney that has different areas of law. So family law and personal injury and other areas of law like that. Well, if they're there to do research on, your firm's family law practice, you're probably not going to want to send them a personal injury message. You're going to want to stick with that family law message and why you're the law firm to go with for those specific things. And same with personal injury. If they're researching law firms that are interested in or are good at personal injury cases, don't send them a family law message. So what we can do, or sort of a best practice with website retargeting, is have different pixels set up on different areas of your website. So if it's a construction company or electrical company that deals with, they have retail and commercial, that's a perfect use case for different messaging for to reach a consumer versus a business that is looking into your work. So website retargeting, definitely get into that game. Be strategic about how you message from each area of your website. And it does increase conversions because the messaging is so relevant. Search retargeting, and this is something that we've really gotten into a lot lately because it's sort of a top layer. When we look at targeting folks, we can put search retargeting as the top layer. So if they have gone to a website like WebMD, for instance, and they're searching a specific thing on WebMD, we can capture that information. And if I am doing marketing for a urology clinic and some of the keywords that they're entering into those search bars show up, then I've captured that client and I can start sending my messaging to them. And now it's extremely relevant because we know they were just searching for it. For instance, if there's a local travel company and they want to be found for keywords for, travel or hotel, airfare, that kind of thing, with specific destinations in mind. Even we can take that list of keywords, plug it into the system, and if someone goes on to Travelocity or Orbitz or whatever and starts doing searches for specific locations, that travel company can then have their messaging put in front of those folks too. So just a couple use cases for search retargeting. It's utilizing keywords done in searches, and then as I mentioned with that top layer, that is the top layer. And then when all of those, say you're targeting the Lansing area, and we've utilized all of that, all of the impressions that we can garner from the keyword targeting, then we go on to the demographic profiling and the audience targeting stuff. So it's a layer of targeting that's really smart to put at the top, because again, look at inbound and how an outbound strategy can complement that. We already know there's intent with this group, and so getting in front of them, it's highly relevant, and to get them to come to your site is going to be a little bit easier because it's right at the top of their mind. And then geofencing is something you might not think as an inbound strategy, but what geofencing is the targeting is the location. So you're not necessarily utilizing any kind of audience targeting or demographic profiling or anything like that. You're taking a specific location. So, and what it does is it tags all the mobile devices within that virtual geofence, and it has the ability to reach them at the event, but also within 30 days of the event. And so it's really great for, say, take Electric Forest as an example. That's a EDM music festival on the west side of the state. Well, if you have, if you're selling, I don't know, tie-dye genie pants or lit up batons, that's going to be your crowd. You're going to want to reach those folks. So if you can geofence that area, you have 20,000 people there for 3 days. Well, guess what? You're going to be tagging all of those mobile devices, and you're going to be able to market your product to that group of highly engaged folks for the next 30 days. And so now you can kind of see how that would be a very relevant message for someone to receive on their mobile device that they'd be more inclined to act on. Another use case would be a trade show for more of a B2B advertising tactic. And what's cool is we can geofence a conference or a trade show and say there's 10,000 people that come in, and they're there for a specific niche, like some sort of third-party auto thing. Very nichey, right? And so if your product is perfect for that group of people, whether you're at the trade show or not, your messaging can come to those mobile devices at the show and then after they leave the show. So a cool tactic with this is, while they're at the show, your creative message could be, hey, we have this product that you're going to be interested in. Come to booth 395 and check us out. We have free demos of this product. After they leave the trade show, you can switch that creative messaging to, hey, we have this product that I know you're interested in. Download this white paper on best practices on how to utilize it. An example of utilizing, kind of that inbound strategy with an outbound tactic. And so that's, keep that in mind for any event where that the right people are in the right place. So back to that Michigan State fan graphic. We've done that several times for MSU home games, where you have 100,000 people on campus that are super engaged with the MSU brand. Well, then if you're the MSU bookstore selling MSU gear, that's a perfect time to reach those folks. They're on campus to come in and get some new gear. So just a couple use cases there. IP targeting is really cool. There's a couple different ways to set this up. Essentially, your IP address is how you interact with the internet. And for specific locations, like I like to think of it as like a consumer model and a business model. So the consumer model is, say you have a mailing list, say you're doing direct mail and you want to complement that direct mail with some digital advertising. Well, with IP targeting, that mailing list can be converted to um, IP addresses that can be reached. And so you can have complementary messaging, you can have duplicate messaging with your display and video advertising that reaches those any device that connects to that IP address at that house. So that's a really cool way to kind of complement what you're doing because and then with businesses, so say it's the Lansing airport and they're offering free Wi-Fi. Well, that's everyone who connects to that is also, connecting to that IP address, and you're able to market to that one IP address and reach thousands of people potentially. And so it's just a cool way to. Another example would be, if you want to target MSU faculty and staff. Well, there's an easy way to do that with IP targeting because they're all kind of connected to that address. So keep that in mind. It's for specific use cases, but it's highly effective. And then I want to talk about email a little bit because as everyone on this call knows, that email is a key piece to that inbound flywheel. And what we can do here with email is, that's something you're going to be nurturing. That's something that you're going to be doing on a regular basis. You do drip campaigns, etc. But how do you bolster up that email list? Well, paid email is essentially you're renting or buying an email database that you're going to be utilizing to send your message to. And again, this is I'll get into some of the targeting, but think of it as a complement to your regular email strategy using HubSpot, and a way to increase that email list for future, drip campaigns, etc. So how it works is these are opt-in email lists that we have access to, but this is something that can be done across the country. There lots of places do this, but essentially it's people who have opted in to receive third-party messages. And what's cool about it is you can target it very specifically. And we're very much focused on privacy and with our clients, and we have NDAs and things like that we could sign. But the best case scenario is getting your client database and scrubbing our list that we have. Say you want to reach business owners of businesses that have 50 employees or more with an average revenue of $2 million per year. And that's your list you want to reach. Well, send us your database. We'll make sure that there's no duplicates because you don't want to pay us to reach someone you already know about, right? And then we implement the email campaign and drive people. And this is very much an inbound type of mentality where we're driving people to a specific page on your site, a landing page that has data collection, it has some sort of way for them to sign up for either a newsletter or download a white paper, but you're capturing that data. So now you're getting permission from them to engage with them in the future. And so email's highly effective. At the bottom of this slide, according to the Direct Marketing Association, for every $1 marketer spent on email, the average ROI is 44. So it's a really, really good way. It's still a very strong way to reach people who are, and again, with targeting, here's just a few ideas and ways we can reach those folks. Consumer demographics with age and gender, B2B, that's probably more in lines of what we're talking about with you guys today. Company size, number of employees, sales volume, all those things I alluded to. And then the interest in lifestyle. And these targeting can all be lumped in together and work together. So want to get into video and audio ads. Videos are a bit more intrusive. So like, for instance, if you're reading content on a news site and there's display advertising all around it, you can kind of focus in on reading the article without necessarily engaging with the ads. With video, if you go to watch something, say on YouTube, this little white hand hovering over the skip ad, I think we've all become quite adept at wait, 4, 3, 2, 1, click. So we get rid of that ad. But what's cool about it, utilizing some of this targeting technology, and I think we've all had experience with this, where we're so used to skipping those ads at the beginning of a YouTube video that we're there to watch, that sometimes when it's extremely relevant, you get sucked in, and then before you know it, you're 30 seconds in and you watch the whole ad. And that's kind of what we're talking about here, is using that smart targeting technology and getting your message in front of the right people. And I'm a sucker for any kind of guitar tutorial. So anytime that comes in, I'm gonna kind of like forget it's an ad and continue to watch. But there's hundreds of examples of that. So looking at pre-roll video, again, it utilizes all that same targeting technology that we've gone over with the other techniques, but you're just playing in the video space. So pre-roll video, if you think of news, information, entertainment sites, video is huge, can't be ignored. It's growing like crazy. 5G is all about streaming video on your mobile devices. It's just the way that our future. Then look at TikTok. That is an app that has exploded, and it's 100% video. So people are consuming more video than they ever have before. And it's a really smart way to get in front of the right people, because you're eliminating 99% of the people out there consuming video by implementing targeting. And you can do this on YouTube specifically. And YouTube has this technique called True View advertising. Essentially, they're going to set it up. They set it up where you only pay for the ad, the impression, if it's consumed 100%. So if you have a 30-second or a 15-second ad, you're only going to pay for that when people don't skip it and they watch the whole thing. With regular pre-roll, it's more impression based, but the reporting is really awesome. And I'm going to get into a little bit of the metrics at the end of this to show you kind of how it can be tracked, and how video is really important. And the next thing that is also exploding is streaming TV. So people are cutting their cord and getting rid of their cable and satellite services, and they're just going, basically picking, I'm going to have Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, and Apple TV. Okay, so now they've cut their cable bill from $200 a month down to $50 a month, or whatever it is. So, but what has also exploded along with those paid subscription models, because you're not going to see an ad on Netflix, you're just paying that monthly fee. But there's tons of content providers that will give you the content for free, but it's supported by advertising. And now you're sitting in your living room, you're consuming TV-like content. It's not necessarily over the air or through a cable provider, but it's on-demand video content that you can access. And if you look at any new smart TV menu, when you turn on the menu, you're going to see options to click on your favorite paid services, but you're also going to see a lot of options for content that is available to you for free. And they're going to, I've seen like Three's Company marathons or Happy Days, whatever. They provide it like that. So it's curating this content by category like that. And once you get into it, you don't know that you're using Pluto TV, but that's what it's streaming on. And guess what? we can get advertising to that person who's doing that. And this is really growing. And just kind of a note on this, like it's called either connected TV or OTT, stands for over the top. You're going over the top of cable and satellite providers. It's not all created equal. So when you're getting into this type of advertising, make sure that you're at least getting the connected TV. That's the most valuable. That is 100% provided on large screen TVs in a living room type environment. That's going to be the most effective way to reach people with this. OTT is really not necessarily all going to deliver on televisions, mobile devices, laptops, tablets, that kind of thing. And in a lot of those cases, there you can skip advertising, whereas with connected TV, it's kind of baked into the system where you're not going to be able to skip a lot of that. So your completion rates are, 95% or higher. Whereas over the top, if you're not, specifying connected TV necessarily, those completion rates are just going to go down. But it's still a really effective way to utilize this. And think of, if you could buy television advertising, but only reach, females 25 to 34 who are interested in volleyball. Connected TV is a way to do that. You can't do that on broadcast TV. You can't do that on cable TV. So it's kind of the new way to reach people, highly effective, and it does have more of an inbound strategy because of that finite targeting that you can get into. And then streaming, digital audio is also a really good way to do that. If you have a free subscription to Pandora or Spotify, or listen to podcasts on any of these networks, iHeartRadio is a huge network of content. A lot of people will put up with the advertising in order to get the free content. And here's another great way to reach people. Again, that the targeting is really specific, and there's also companion banners that can be part of this as well. So digital audio is a valid way to complement some of the things you're doing. And then finally, and this is going to be really brief because we talked about this a lot, and to get into social media marketing. Obviously you have to be in this game, and it should be a very strong part of your media mix. We don't really have the time to get into this because each one of these social media properties has its own idiosyncrasies and ways to optimize. And all I'm saying is that this is going to be a separate, it already has been. I actually attended a really good Facebook hug a couple years ago that you guys did, and it was all on just Facebook, 100%. And I pulled away like 3 really powerful ways to improve my Facebook marketing. So look for this in coming hugs, but just know that this should be a very solid strategy in your marketing mix. Now, what I'd like to do here is pivot to a reporting demo. And I essentially just want to show you the dashboard that we use, and hopefully, I'm just going to double check here. Okay, good. I'm going to just make this full screen so everybody can see it. Okay, good. Just confirming you can see my screen here. This is a test account, but what's cool is this will show the different metrics that we can track, with, I'm going to start with display. And the main metrics when you're looking at display advertising: how many impressions are served, how many clicks, what is the click-through rate, how many visits to your website from the advertising, and the difference between these two things here are, here's the number of clicks from clicking directly on the advertising Visits refers to the number of people who have seen your ad and then end up on your website. So it includes all the clicks, but it also includes the people who didn't necessarily click on the ad, but then later ended up on your website. And engagements is, it just means people who have taken their cursor and hovered over your ad. But it's important to see like real examples of where your advertising ends up. And so these are just screenshots of actual ads and the websites they end up on. So that's good proof of performance. What we do a lot of is A/B testing. So for instance, here's a ad. Here's a client who's doing two different types of ads, but it's for the same company. So you can see the number of impressions, number of clicks, and click-through rate on this ad versus this ad. So all that is to say is people are interacting with this one at a higher rate, which may imply that this one is working a little bit better. So we can optimize the campaign as we go. And that's something we really like to look at, especially when you're doing multiple creative messages at the same time. You can really dial in, and this would link to a specific landing page where you ask for their contact information and that kind of thing. Display lift is something that we track, and that's essentially, when you're doing display advertising versus when you're not, what does that do to your website traffic? And it's just kind of a metric we track. Performance by placement. So this is something that's really cool. We can tell you exactly the website, how many impressions and how many clicks. And, there's pages and pages of this. And we have the ability to download an Excel file that shows, essentially everywhere that your ad is showing up, and making sure, double checking the relevancy of those web properties. And then performance by device, we like to look at desktop, mobile, and tablet, and kind of compare where the most impressions and clicks are coming from there. And again, in order to optimize properly. And then performance by city. So if you're trying to reach a specific audience, and the majority of the impressions are going to a place where you think that's a little bit close to the edge of where we want to reach, we can optimize then at that point, and kind of show you and make sure we're dialing into the geographies that really move the needle the most for you. And then performance by day. And it's kind of the same with pre-roll video, so I'm not going to get into that. But with geofence, I at least wanted to show you, this is really cool. So if we, this is sort of a map view of the country, and here's where the geofencing is happening over in New Jersey area. And what we're looking at here is the white dots represent the actual geofences. So this is where we draw an invisible line around a business or a property or an event, and the black dots all around here are where people have been retargeted. So if their phone is in this geofence and they might receive an ad while they're there, they might not, and then they leave that location, we're going to indicate exactly the locations where they've been retargeted to. And this is, we had a really great use case with a boat dealer that was doing sort of a boat event, and we were geofencing their competitors. So, if they're walking into a boat dealer, they're obviously in the market for what they do. And we had a couple instances where a customer walked in and said, "Yeah, I saw your ad when I was at this other boat dealer, and I saw the sale you're having, so I walked in here." And it's just really a cool way to reach the right people at the right time with geofencing. And so, impressions and clicks, that's important, but then it gets into the locations that you're actually geofencing, so you can see which ones are performing and which ones are not getting a lot of action. So we can start to eliminate these as we optimize throughout the campaign. Performance by creative. Again, in this instance, there's just one, but you could have 3 different creatives running at the same time, and then you can just kind of look at the performance and make some decisions as to what's working best there. And then as with the display campaigns, we can download every single app that this has run in. So so whether it's a gaming app or whether it's a website or any other kind of mobile app, we're going to be able to show you which ones are performing the best, and then performance by day. Search engine marketing, I'm not going to get into because that's a whole another thing, but really doesn't have a lot to do with inbound. But this is your connected TV metrics, and as I mentioned here, the number of impressions and then the number of completions. So this is the number of people who have watched 100% of that. Say it's a 30-second ad. Well, it's 87.78, and that's pretty good. I can tell that this is not 100% connected TV. We're using OTT here as well. But what we're looking at here is the actual platform. So Roku is always on the top of the list. A lot of your smart TV devices are Roku, powered by Roku. So that's driving that. But Sony, Amazon, Apple, Vizio, these Samsung, these are where those menu systems, when you start your TV up and it gives you basically here, what do you want to do? It's going to curate that content from across all of these OTT platforms. And then completion rate by feature network. And we use this a lot where we can look at the networks that are not performing. See, these are all in the 90s. That's great. If there's any that are really low, then we can essentially just eliminate them. So these are all still really good. But again, we can download the full list here and, by completion rate. And then now you're looking at every single network that your ad was shown on and if it performed well. Unique reach and frequency. This is something that is tracked after 60 days. So we'll be able to, set a reach and frequency to whatever you want it to be. So that's important. And here's an example of multiple creatives, their completion rates, number of impressions delivered. And down at the bottom, it gives it these quartile percentages. So, 25% watched almost 94% of the ads. And so there's not a huge difference in the performance on the different creatives. But if there was, you can optimize and really start showing the ads that are performing better than the other ones, because those are the ones that your clients are engaging with more. So these are the kind of metrics that are important to utilize, because as we know, with inbound, the metrics are huge, the analytics. It's the same with outbound. We want to make sure that we're hitting the right folks at the right time. So let's see, I'm going to move this back out of here. And that's my little reporting demo. And so I'm going to suggest that inbound plus smart outbound is a winning combination. And hopefully I've made a case for that here. And now at this point, really, I'd like to get into any Q&A and hand it back over to Angelique for the concluding remarks.
Yeah, I think that's a great segue. You just talking about analytics and reporting, because I'm pretty sure everyone here who's a HubSpot user loves analytics and reporting. It's something we can all agree on.
Mm-hmm.
And I also want to hit on that HubSpot itself is a platform that allows for advertising within the portal. But one of the things you kind of got to be careful with is doing everything in HubSpot. You're still going to want to use Google or Facebook or where you're doing the advertising. But HubSpot's a really great one-stop shop for kind of pulling all that data and analytics together and seeing it from one dashboard.
I would also just remind people that that's why HubSpot has so many integrations.
Yep.
And they work really hard at working together with outside apps. So HubSpot isn't trying to take you away from using outside
Yep.
platforms so much as simplifying it with reporting and analytics and pulling it together, like Angie said. But it is really important to note that HubSpot has so many integrations and plays well with others, so to speak. They go out of their way so that anything you want to incorporate with your marketing strategy, or just about anything, they have a way to make it all align. So it's a really great way to look at making HubSpot your primary tool, but also using outside sources to sort of level up if it's needed for the tactics you're trying to do. So HubSpot's not trying to be the expert in everything. They're the expert in what they do, and then they're playing well with the other experts so that it all ties together really nicely.
Yeah, excellent point.
Well said.
We are going to open it up for questions, and Rose had a really good question in the beginning of the presentation around geofencing. How do these ads come across on phones via geofencing?
Yeah, good question. So a lot of that geofencing display advertising is done using. Okay, so if you have Words with Friends or Candy Crush or any of those free apps that are supported by advertising, you're seeing ads, right? Sometimes they're relevant to you, sometimes they're not. And again, that back to one of the first slides, like when you're inundated with ads that mean nothing to you, of course it's annoying and intrusive, and you don't want to interact with it. But if you could utilize geofencing to get those advertising in front of the right people, that's where they're going to display. So it's mobile apps, and websites that you're visiting on your phone. It's not necessarily Facebook or Instagram; those are kind of locked down. TikTok as well. That's going to be a separate buy, but there's sort of an ad network of applications that you can get your advertising in, and then utilize that really great targeting with with geofencing. It's specific location based, and so that's where they're delivered. It's on advertising supported apps and websites.
Great answer. Do we have any other questions? No pressure. All right. I don't see any other questions coming in, so I won't belabor the point. Let's keep her moving.
Wait. Rose has another question. Where would we go about getting some? I'm assuming where would you order ads? Oh, geofencing ads.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so one of the things that we work with Chad on when we're not doing something directly in house is working with a company as large as Nexstar to help plan that. So Chad, you want to touch on that briefly, and then we will have Chad's information shared as well when we send the presentation out.
Yeah, it's something we do. We have a really dialed in system. Geofencing has been around for 5 years or more. I can't remember the first time I did a geofencing campaign, but it's not anything new. But it's about high quality. It's about reporting those metrics real specifically and proving performance and optimizing along the way. So that's kind of what we like to say we're good at. Inverb really knows how to design creative that hits the people within that geofence the right way, and utilizing a lot of inbound language and techniques. So the creative messaging is just as important as the tactic, and that's where Inverb really thrives at this. And I would say absolutely work with Inverb, or if you want to talk to me about it, I'm happy to. I'm not here to sell you on us being the best at everything, but we're pretty darn good at it, and we love what we do over here. So yeah.
To be fair, we do use Chad for our geofencing, so little patting each other on the back a little bit there.
It's really a collaborative effort because, again, this is trying to complement those strategies. So making sure that the messaging you're putting out is aligned with the inbound, and then making sure the way you're doing geofencing aligns with that as well. So trying to avoid being too intrusive, but instead making sure that the geofencing lines up with what kind of content people are trying to consume. So going back to years ago when inbound marketing was also called permissive marketing. So we want to reach people that actually are wanting to see it. So that's where we work together on that. So there's a lot of strategy to geofencing because you have to have a lot of technical, acumen. And so we work with the Nexstar team because they're huge and they're very good at that end. And then we work personally to make sure the messaging and the tactics behind it are aligned there. So there's a couple components there, but again, we'll have contact info for Inverve and for Nexstar and Chad when we send that out. So
great question. Rose, can we count on you for another one? All right. If anyone has questions after the presentation, you're looking back through the deck and something doesn't make sense or you think of another question, you can always feel free to reach out to us. We are so happy to answer your questions at any point in time. So we're going to keep it moving from Q&A. And hey, let's connect. Here is some ways to get in touch with Inverve Marketing. Chad's contact information is earlier in the presentation. Again, we are going to be emailing this out so you can have it as reference. And if you could take just a minute to fill out an NPS survey, we would very much appreciate it. We like to know what it is you liked hearing about the presentation today, other things you'd like to see, things that we can improve. Always want to move forward. All right, let's move it along. And saving the date, so we don't actually have a real date yet for our next hug. We still need to be confirmed as hug leaders in 2022. We are actively working on that, but we fully expect the next hug will be in March of 2022. And we will give you more details with an actual invitation closer to the date. If you have a topic that you are dying to hear about, we want to know, send us a message. We will absolutely look at any kind of presentation that you are looking to have.
Angie, can you put the link to the survey in the chat? Greg is asking for the link there. That's a good point, Greg, because you can't click on it when it's on the screen, and I forget that sometimes.
All right.
Greg's always got good points to make, I say.
Greg does always have good points.
But all right. Also, we do love to hear feedback on if you want us to elaborate on something in the next hug, if there's something really topical you'd like us to deliver on the next hug. We've got a couple months to pull it together. So whatever you're dying to find out, Angie can't wait to host it.
I do love hosting hugs. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And we'll see you at the next one, right?
All right, guys. Thank you.